For 7 years, Khatira played on the Afghan national women's soccer team.
It is my responsibility to help those women who are in need.
This is In the Loop. I'm Christian Bryant. Here's what you need to know right now. Dangerous flash floods have hit parts of the Northeast. That's part of what Ida is leaving behind. New Bedford, Massachusetts got more than 9 inches. To put that into perspective, the average rainfall for the entire month of September is usually 3 to 4 inches. Amtrak was also forced to cancel services between DC and Boston because of the flooding. In New York City and parts of Long Island, a flood emergency was issued for the first time ever. As of Thursday evening, at least 18 people have died. The National Weather Service's Prediction Center shared this image of the rainfall totals for that area. Many places saw one of their wettest days on record. The Category 4 hurricane made landfall in Louisiana on Sunday. In the Gulf Coast, roughly 1 million people are still without power, and gas outages are increasing in 2 of Louisiana's biggest cities. Today, President Biden called the storm a reminder that the climate crisis is real.
We're reminded that this isn't about politics. Hurricane Ida didn't care if you were a Democrat or a Republican, rural or urban. This destruction is everywhere. And it's a matter of life and death, and we're all in this together.
As one part of the country is more soaked than usual, the other side is extremely dry, creating the perfect conditions for wildfires. More than 15,000 firefighters, including out-of-state crews, have been working around the clock to try and control some of the fires in California. Crews were able to divert flames from the Caldor fire away from South Lake Tahoe, but the blaze continues to burn. So far, it's burned more than 200,000 acres since it ignited in mid-August. As of this morning, it was just 25% contained.
Firefighters getting tired, they're getting drained, they're busy at their home departments, and then they're coming out here and doing this on top of that. They're definitely getting fatigued.
The Supreme Court weighed in on the new abortion ban in Texas after the law went into effect, but did not change the outcome. In a 5-4 vote, the justices denied an emergency appeal from abortion providers, but did suggest other procedurally proper challenges to the law could be brought forward. Abortion rights advocates have called the new law cruel and dangerous. The law, which bans abortions after 6 weeks, is now the most restrictive abortion measure in the country. It was written in a way that allows it to avoid federal court review by letting private citizens be the ones who bring the lawsuits. At least 12 other states have enacted abortion bans early in pregnancies, but all have been blocked from going into effect. In the Supreme Court's new term this fall, there will be another test to Roe v. Wade. The court is set to hear arguments about a Mississippi law which would ban most abortions after 15 weeks. People are still trying to get out of Afghanistan. That's even more difficult after US troops fully withdrew earlier this week. The United Nations says 3.5 million people are displaced within the country, and as many as 500,000 people could flee by the end of the year. The Taliban is gearing up to announce the new supreme leader of the country. That's likely to be Sheikh Hibatullah Akhundzada. But there are still a lot of questions about who will fill the other positions in the new Islamic government, which many countries aren't even officially recognizing. In the US, defense officials say they are cautious about cooperating with Taliban leaders.
We were working with the Taliban on a very narrow set of issues, and it was just that, to get as many people out as we possibly could. And it's hard to predict where this will go in the future with respect to the Taliban.
But I can tell you from personal experience that this is a ruthless group from the past, and whether or not they change remains to be seen.
While it remains to be seen what this new rule under the Taliban will look like, as we've covered extensively, the fear for many Afghans is already there. In part because last time the Taliban was in power, they led with strict interpretations of the Quran, doled out brutal punishments, and kept women from working and going to school. That's why many women and girls in the country are especially concerned now. We've been following the stories of women athletes in the country even before the Taliban officially took over. A few weeks ago, we introduced you to Ascend, a climbing NGO that works to build the confidence of young girls and develop leadership skills.
We mostly work with Hazara people who are persecuted minorities, so they're at particular risk. So Hazara girls doing sports and collaborating with Westerners are not safe.
In our last update, we mentioned the group was able to successfully evacuate some of the members and their families and get them resettled in Denmark. They are currently working to try and get a few others into Ireland. It's a similar situation for several other women's sports. There's currently an international effort underway to help members of the Afghan women's soccer team get out of the country. Many of the members were evacuated to Australia last week. The thing is, there's also several members of the youth team that have yet to make it out. The girls and their families could be targeted by the Taliban because under their previous rule, women and girls were forbidden to play sports. Even with that threat hanging over them, some are choosing to stay. Newsy's Shmiso tells us about an Afghan national women's soccer team player who's helping other stranded women athletes.
Every woman's wished and every woman had hope that, okay, society changed and we have national team. That was really super and exciting feeling for me.
For 7 years, Khatira played on the Afghan national women's soccer team, first as a defender and then as a forward.
I like Cristiano Ronaldo, then I love to play forward.
She received multiple death threats from the Taliban and was regularly harassed. But she never stopped playing the beautiful game. We are blurring her face because she fears for her life.
I received many challenges, but I didn't stop playing soccer.
Last week, she had a golden opportunity to escape Kabul with other teammates who found refuge in Australia. But she decided to stay behind and face the Taliban.
Why didn't you go with them to escape from Kabul and Afghanistan as well?
As a woman activist, it is my responsibility to help those women who are in need.
In an exclusive interview with Newsy, she says she stayed because she cares for her parents and for her sister with Down syndrome, and because she can help other stranded female athletes better from inside the country. Khatira is working day and night, seeking help from NGOs and Western nations to get friends out of danger. But with the Taliban now in full control, her mission is getting harder by the hour.
I wish to help all of them, but we will see who will support us.
Khatira has also enlisted the help of a former teammate who recently found refuge in the US.
We just want to design a special program for those women that are left behind, just for women.
Kausar Amini played on the national team with Khatira before moving to California with her family in 2019. Her best memory with the squad is when they beat the US military women's team.
We just won the match and they were just happy for us because they said, we never expected, you guys are very, talented. You're doing great job.
She tries to give her friend strength from afar.
I'm just praying and I'm just wishing for her more success and more energy and power.
Khatira does feel the odds stacked against her, but she's not giving up.
I'm asking some of my friends, even you and some other journalists, if they know some foundations, some people who can help those women who are really in need, please reach me out. I really appreciate.
Shmiso, Newsy.
Here to talk with us a bit more about that story is Newsy's Shmiso. Women's rights and soccer have been two of Khatra's passions for a long time. Has she ever received threats like this before?
Absolutely, Christian, and sadly, she told me she joined the national team when she was only 14, and she received her first death threat when she was 17, so she was very young at the time. It was hard for her to cope with it. Besides, she also studied at the American University of Afghanistan, and while she was there, she created a women's soccer team at the university as well, and guess what? Even there on an American university campus, she faced a lot of harassment, a lot of bullying, but that never stopped her from continuing her dream.
Most of, men trying to bullying our teams, they believe that, okay, women can do anything, but, we show them and we, that we can have a, team in this university. And fortunately, we did that.
So that's the women's soccer team, but there's also a whole other operation with the girls team. Where are we with that?
One operation is called Operation Soccer Balls, and it's a coalition of former coaches, former soccer players, federation, unions of soccer players all around the world in multiple countries are trying to rescue the national girls team. So not the women's team, most of them are in Australia, but the girls team, they are between 14 and 16 years old. And, you know, that's actually almost 140 people if you count the staff and the coaches, but at the moment they're still stranded in Afghanistan.
Ben Shmiso, thanks so much for the update. We appreciate you. That was a lot to take in the first minutes of the show, right? But let's not forget, we're still in a global pandemic. Up next, we break down the latest on COVID.